There we go. And I'm just checking that it's actually showing. What do you think that's like? Is that good for Ellie, do you think? Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. It almost. What about that, Julie? Go there again, my darling. Ellie, when you do it, stand here so that yes, under there, all this side. And they stand this side and then it's better for them on you.
Okay, so right.
Yeah. Good. That's good.
Yeah.
Julie, what I might do is these people. Oh, it's on anyway now.
Auto accept.
Yeah, so you might have to. Nikki's gonna have a field day when she sees that.
So is it gonna pop up like
So
for people to join?
I think it'll be like a video recording and then we'll send it out, but people are gonna join. So they probably won't do it till 6.
Do you have to hit record?
Yeah.
Right? Oh no, it says
on
recorded.
record, but what you might have to do is admit them. Is that okay? I'm so sorry about that.
But do you think I had what, like the first 3 people come in without admittance, then everyone will come in? Or should I just stand by here for
Just
a while?
by here for a second. Hi,
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. And we appreciate your support. Thank you. Ellie, Jeremy has arrived. We're very grateful. How was the drive?
Oh, I rode my bike from, I live in Whistler, so.
Brilliant.
It's a bit-
Great.
it's a bit smoky.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, thank you. We appreciate you coming very much. So I would like to sit in front if you wanted to, or wherever you feel comfortable.
Probably can't stay the whole time, but,
Thank you.
I know that you're presenting and then you're having a discussion about the
Yeah.
recent incident, right? I didn't.
Whatever you want to talk about,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just open.
Yeah. Because you came to our agency office? or-
Yes,
okay.
yes, thank you for your, yeah, thanks for being that. Vaughn and I both. Very nice to meet you. Thank you for reading my correspondence.
Yeah. Emails, it's like, I know it's not way too much time in story likely, but
Yeah.
the team is taking into it a bit and figure
Yeah.
the overall. So,
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Beyond words,
It
yeah.
does mean as much, doesn't it, for us?
It really
Just the
does.
fact that you're even here means a lot. Thank you.
We'll learn a few things and we'll.
And please share any experiences you've had with bears, ask any questions, because it's gonna be interactive,
Yeah.
small groups, so I appreciate it.
Grizzlies can hang around in front of school again, so I went to pick up my daughter from school.
Oh, did you?
No, I haven't. Oh, I did see them once last
Last
year when she might have gone over, but
Yeah.
the range of reactions to that has been. A lot, so.
Yeah. Well, most of the bears, I'm gonna be showing are grizzlies, so it's kind of good that way, and everybody seems to be getting more and more grizzlies coming into their community areas, and they're very similar to black bears anyways, it's just the grizzlies are bigger and they have a little bit of differences in the way that they care for their kids.
Yeah.
But they are very similar in their body language, so we can talk about that, and if there's any questions on that, but it's all relative to the black bears as well, so I'm just willing to be able to interact. It's exciting.
Very timely.
Did you bring a bike? Like you can an e-bike, right? When you said a bike, I'm like, is it a motorcycle?
Stuff was the case, so it's not too bad, but.
E-bikes are amazing. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all the exercise.
Get our fresh air.
Julie, I'll leave you in charge of this. We have actually 20 people who are going to join us on Zoom. That's rather nice, isn't it? Some people were concerned about the fire, so let's wish them well down in Squamish, because that fire is, quite the thing. And I know Clara's son is a firefighter, and just wishing them all is safe as they try to get that fire under control. It's very important, isn't it, in today's 2 days of sun and things are going crazy here. But anyway, we're here for this fabulous walk. I just wrote a few things that I wanted to share with you. And first of all, I want to say good evening to you all. Thank you for coming this evening. And thank you everybody on Zoom. We really appreciate you. It's always a bit weird talking to Zoom, but I teach yoga on Zoom, so I've kind of got over that now. But thank you everyone for joining us in this very important message. Thank you, come and join us. I wanted to say thank you to everyone who cares about the wildlife, not just bears, but we just heard a cougar was seen running across the road in Squamish for its life away from the fire. So we're hoping that people are going to acknowledge that when these different things happen, animals get displaced, and we have to take better care of them and also our community. First of all, I want to give humble respect and gratitude and acknowledge we're actually holding this presentation on the unceded territory of the Lillooet and Squamish Nation. And we're very lucky to have Barry Dan and Clara John here, who are elders that I've worked with for a long time, who are incredible people. Thank you so much for being with us today. And I'd also like to thank Nita Lake. It's very kind of them. Whenever I call them, they often let me do some of these events here. So I thank them from the bottom of my heart for letting us host this here for our community. My name is Tina James. I've lived in Whistler for 23 years, and I've spent a long time fighting for bears. My parents had a rehab centre in England for badgers and owls and foxes. So I'm well aware of wildlife, and it's very important to all of us, not just me. Now I know these beings are slightly bigger than badgers and foxes, but they're all, wild beings that we want to connect with as best we can and get to understand them. I truly believe many things will change, and that we can do this in a very, we can initiate change as a community, but we can also lead the way. I think people were traumatized by what happened up at Cadenwood. And, it was such a sad event, and being with Ellie for those 9 days, what I realized was people came and helped us. So, if I told you everyone who helped, Yvonne was always in the background helping us, supporting us. Trish was helping us, supporting us. Joan was helping us, supporting us. Amanda was helping us, supporting us, and Julie here. But many other people. We had Carlos with his drone. Honestly, people just jumped into action, as well as the rest of the community. So we will never forget that. Now, I have to say, we called upon Whistler Council, and they did that meeting we had. I feel something that moved forward for us, and I'm very happy. Thank you so much, Jeremy, the MLA, for being here tonight. We really appreciate you being here. Just the fact that you came means the world to us. It really does. I know you want the same as we want, so I appreciate that. Ellie is passionate. I have to speak before she speaks about her, because I know she won't tell you. This woman is incredible. She's a legend. She's kind. She's got unwavering commitment. She has spent her life serving others and truly inspiring others. I know she's inspired me. She's one of a kind. Ellie's impact extends far beyond the immediate community. She's actually touched the lives of countless individuals. I know a lot of you online know Ellie. She's an incredible person. It was a delight to work with her. She taught me so much. Her dog, Drecky, who's a search and rescue dog, just watching her with her dog proved to me that we can live with animals, and if we understand them, then we can communicate with them in a better way rather than just killing them. This is the most important thing, I feel. Ellie is uniquely placed to help us here in Whistler have a better understanding of how to live with grizzlies. I know when you mentioned that word, as you said, Jeremy, it kind of brings up two things for people and many other thoughts on those bears. So I'm happy you're going to be sharing that as well, Ellie. So I wanted to say one thing as a personal thing myself that I would like to try and put forward. I try to live in the loving kindness initiative, but I truly believe that anyone carrying a firearm, no matter what their job is, should have a body cam on. That's my true belief. I know in England now, nobody is allowed to carry a firearm without having a body cam on. I believe it's absolutely imperative. And I don't think people who are doing these jobs, if they've got nothing to hide, I don't think they would mind doing it. After all the RCMP do it, so it makes sense that we would get the COS to do it as well. I feel people would be more likely to communicate if they can see truth and transparency. So that's the first thing I wanted to share of my experience was with Ellie. And I'm not pointing the finger at anyone, by the way. I'm trying to be very, open here with just what I think might work if we're really looking at changing laws on things. The second thing that I feel would be important is having more signage. In Whistler, there's not enough signage. We put out loads of signs. I think they need to be on the Valley Trail, they need to be in all the parks, because it's not just the locals here now, there's lots of people, tourists travelling through. It would be good to have much more information, and then our locals can also speak up and interact with community without getting an earful. So I think this is really important as well, that we have open conversation with everybody who's in Whistler now. It can save lives. And I also believe we should have a non-lethal approach. I know that people are willing to put in funding for moving bears. And if they're moved, as we know, the bear on Texas, the First Nations have got involved and offered to take that bear and let the bear be on that land. That could happen tonight. And that really is something I think having our First Nations communicating with each other, it makes sense, doesn't it? And then that way, nobody's getting out into it. Thank you for coming. I think it's really important. Well, I mean, we talk about truth and reconciliation. Surely this is it in its purest form. And after all, Clara will share a bit about her connection with bears and, how important they are to their communities. Wouldn't it be good if we can all work together rather than split and divide? I know it's difficult because some people have different opinions, but at least if we can communicate, that's a step forward. This was just a quick point that I thought about because there's a guy called Jim Abernathy who works with sharks, and he mentioned that there are more vending machines kill people in America every year than sharks kill people. Well, this is actually the same as bears. So when I looked this up, this is crazy. 2,000 people were killed with vending machines. Can you believe it? So, I mean, I'm like, I know it's a crazy fact, but that just sums up that bear attacks are really rare. Like, and that actual word attack is just not really real. It's a narrative that I think people have got used to saying. There's a reason why they do things, and Ellie will explain that to everyone. One of the things I read about bears and working with elders these last 16 years, they have a spiritual meaning. They represent strength, courage, healing, connection to land. They're often seen as guides. They offer valuable teachings for overall health and wellness. They include spiritual, physical, and emotional well-being. Bears are also seen as protectors and educators, and they're guides on individuals' ways of living. I think that speaks volumes to me and what we saw when we were looking for the cubs in Cadenworth. I really believe, like, Joan and I had an experience with a big bear. It was incredible. And it just, if you're quiet and you listen, no ear pods on and not racing around on our e-bikes, like paying attention, I think we don't do that in the natural world nearly as much as we should. And I feel like we all need a reminder of that. We're rushing around, it's good to remind us. So let's keep pushing tonight with this fabulous presentation that Ellie is going to share with you. And I want to also say that Barry and Clara, they've taught me a lot about bears and cougars and living with wildlife and the moose and the representation of why we want these animals in our world today. And I have so much gratitude for you all being here. I want to thank you again, Jeremy, because many people don't show up and you have, so I really appreciate that. I also want to thank Jessie Rose from the council. She called me last week 3 times to go and take a look at the mother bear and the cubs. That meant the world to us. So we were able to deflect a situation there. And also Kathy Jewett, she's an amazing woman and really doing her best. They all want the best. I think a lot of us, it's a change, isn't it? Like a change in a way that we move forward. So I want to thank everybody for that. And I also want to say, if you do want to give any donations, so we work with Criticare. Gail from Criticare provided 3 traps that were 2 of them were put out to try and find those cubs, which unfortunately were never seen again. But she did try to help, and I really think helping Criticare any way we can, $5, however much you've got, it helps these people. But I also want to thank fur bearers, and in particular Leslie, who really did step up and is stepping up now. I feel this is so important. The more of us that can stand up and speak up, the more these situations are going to change. But I also want to reiterate, we have to do it in a kind way. I know it's difficult because people get angry, but if we can do it in a kind way, I think we will find a resolution for our beautiful bears. And one last thing I want to just mention before I hand you over, and Clara, I'd love you to come up and stand before Ellie speaks. We had a group in England, and they were going to bring a group of 15 people to Whistler, and they were going to spend $60,000. The reason they're not coming is because of the mother bear that was killed. They have gone to somewhere in America. Very unfortunate. I feel really sad about that because I wish we could have spoken to them and maybe explained that, even Whistler Council mentioned about dropping the ball. Maybe we never had the ball in the first place, but we've got to get on that ball. And so I'm hoping with all your help, we can do that. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you everyone for showing up. This is Clara John, so I'm going to let her speak.
Alan, in church we can, how much God she's Clara Susan John, we like all can, Stephen can, Colin can. I'd just like to thank you for all coming here tonight to listen to the presentation and for your concerns that you have with for wildlife. I just really wish that that we could really educate more than that show up here. Like a lot of people need to know if we're gonna live out there and we choose to live high up in the mountains here, as we know there's a lot. They need to show that they can live with them and they can respect them. Because for us, the bear is very sacred. And when I spoke in front of council, I said that also before. We don't ingest the bear in any way. It's very sacred to us. And we go to the conservation officers if they have an incident where a bear had to be put down or something, then they call on us. And we use every part of that. We use the hide in a sacred way, and we actually use the bear grease in a sacred way as medicine. It's a really highly sought after thing. And if you get it, you're looking at gold. our medicine, it's put in medicines, our natural medicines as gold. So when I say that, when we have people that are concerned, like, that's the biggest issue, is that they need to have respect for where they live and educate them, like, even if we have the skiers or the mountain bikers or whoever's using the trails, they need to be aware, and as Tina said, be walking around with their ear pods on, with their headphones. One comes dashing out, what are you gonna do? They have no idea, it's just the same, you have to take the same precautions as when you're driving down to see the sky. We all know, we live here, we all know, like, a bear could dash out in front of us, what are we gonna do? We're gonna jeopardize our family, ourselves, for the bear, or we're gonna just slow down and be more cautious? That's just what we have to do. We're in their territory. They're not in our territory. We chose to live here, we chose to expand Whistler, we chose to expand Pemberton, Mount Currie. Like, it's all growing so fast. And they're just getting pushed out everywhere they are. And we just need to be more educated, more aware. And again, I'd like to thank you for being here, for your concern and taking part in helping out wherever you can. I'd like to thank Ellie for inviting us here and for doing her presentation. And for everyone that was helping, like, to look for the tubs. Like, that was a real big issue, I know that. And a lot of them really totally comes from the heart. So I'd like to thank you for all doing your part, and thank you for being here. And travel.
Thank you, Clara. It's beautiful to have you both here again. So nice to be here. And thank you everyone on Zoom for joining us. Thank you everybody. Thank you, Jerry. Very nice to have this kind of presence. And I'd like to approach this with quite an interactive conversation, really. And so if anybody has questions or they've had an encounter with the bear that they would like to understand perhaps better, I'd like to be able to talk about it. So please, this is for everyone on a personal note as well. It's just generally speaking about my experiences or what bears taught me about them. And it's funny because you think you learn so much about bears, but actually what you do, you learn a lot about who you are. And there's a lot of teaching that they do that we don't even know they're doing. So please share any stories. So I'd like to thank Tina for Tina.
Just
I'd like to thank Tina so much. It was such a privilege to be able to spend time looking, spend time looking for these little pups that went missing. But it was a privilege to have a solid heart person that really cares so deeply about these animals. And thank you, Tina. It's been such an incredible experience to get to know you. Thank you for inviting me tonight. And also, I'd like to thank the many kind supporters in this community for their, because you really are amazing people. I do look at Whistler as being really on the forefront of change and being an example for other communities. The work that you the acceptance you've had of these animals in your community, the ability to live with them beautifully. It's just such an example, and I just have to thank you for your open hearts on that. Thanks. So I needed to start the presentation, and again, it's interactive, but I need to start it off just a little bit of an icebreaker. Who here loves bears? Okay. Yeah. I know you guys do too. Yeah, and of course I do. I spend 4 months every year around grizzlies particularly, but black bears as well. And that was up in the Valley. I'm on my 16th year with a beautiful lodge and a beautiful area. And you get to know the families, you get to know the individuals, and it's a real privilege to be able to see see this little bear grow up and have a few litters and have their, you get to know the individual personalities. It's just a really wonderful, wonderful thing that I've been allowed to do. In that, my background working as bear viewing guide is 28 or so years. And they graciously taught me a lot about who they are, their language, how they communicate, their body language, I should say, how they communicate. I look at it and people often laugh. I often talk to people about, I come from a horse background, and I think horses taught me a lot about bears. And that's kind of an odd statement, but if you've had horses in your life, their energy, not so much their exact language, but it's very similar in energy. So they are both, they're both predatory and they're predators, and they're also prey. So they have, they're carnivores, and they're also omnivores, and they're also, meat eaters. So, so they eat plants, and so that everything about them is a real mix. And with that, they have a mixture of personality, really, and they're very similar to horses in that way. So a horse turns his back on you and he puts his butt towards you. That means I'm going to stay away. And the horse is saying, "Yeah, I'll kick you if you come any closer." Whereas a bear, when they turn their back on you, it's often that they trust you. So in that, I think it's interesting to see that they have cubs and they actually walk away with cubs, and they walk beside, but they're not eyeballing you. So again, that's quite similar to what you get as far as looks, but their energy, but their actual language, their body language is quite different. So I'd like to go over some of that today. And so please, as I go through this, I'd like anyone with a story or a short story or an experience that you want to share, whether it's about grizzlies or about black bears in your community or elsewhere, please interrupt me. And it's not an interruption, it's just an opportunity for us to have a conversation that's real to you and probably real to many other people. So with that, I'll get started. So living with bears in Whistler. I'm bear viewing guide, as I said, for 28 or so years. I've been around grizzlies, more up in the Bella Coola Valley than other locations. I've been also in Atlin area guiding. I've been in the Kootenays guiding, and it's wonderful to be able to get to know different. But the neat thing about it is in the Bella Coola Valley, that's where I have had the opportunity to get to know different families of bears. So Ben Killam is a bear biologist from the States, and he also rehabs bears. So he has cubs that he helps to have them grow up, and then he releases them. They're all but he studies them, and he studies their interaction. In his words, they're not solitary, aloof animals, as often portrayed. They have impressively complex social relationships based on alliances formed with other bears. And once rules are established, they can do well in overlapping home ranges, and that could be communities as well. So they are, if there was one word that I could use to describe bears, it's relationships. They operate with a moral code, demonstrate altruism, and have a well-developed system of justice, punishment, friendship, and food sharing. Kind of sounds like us. They use facial expressions, ear movements, and body language. They employ a wide array of vocalizations, which we'll get into, in communicating danger, dominance, subordination, and a level of comfort with one another. Indeed, they have successfully communicated to others for millions and millions of years. So that is amazing, and it's true that is what they come to show me. They are complex animals, similar to it's very relatable to people, and and their intelligence is beyond really, even our dogs, we think are super intelligent. They are in their own way, but bears are very complex. They're able to solve problems. It's amazing what I've seen with bears, amazing. And I just want to say that if somebody is in front of them and they smell them, that is where most of their information comes from, is their sense of smell. 85% of the information comes from that. Other senses are important, but nothing like the sense of smell. So if someone is in front of a bear and the bear smells them, they recognize that and they never forget both the encounter or the person, the area. They remember it like it was yesterday. It's amazing how that's been proven to me time after time, just how incredible learners they are and how their memory never betrays them ever. And it's really cool. So anyway, I always found that quite fascinating. In North America, North America, over a period of 125 years, 678 people have been killed by black bears. That's a long time. That seems like a lot, like a big number, but the truth is, that's a long time. And there's not that many, that's why black bears. What to expect tonight? I just don't get into that. In short time we have, I would like to pass on a clear understanding of the nature and intentions of bears. And what to do in situations where a bear is involved and you're there. I'd like to also talk about interesting facts on bears, both on their biology and their behavior, the meaning of a bear's body language, as I said, and questions and answers throughout and at the end. So let's talk about bears and what motivates them in social situations. As I said, if I was to explain bears, I would use one word, and that was relationships. They really build relationships. Bears that I have come to know, and they come to know me, there is a relationship there. Most bears, the number one thing is to just get along, and they just want to get along. And you've known that with all the bears here. And actually, it's quite a few bears in Whistler, isn't there? There's quite a few. And has everybody seen a bear this year? Yeah, I mean, they're kind of everywhere, I've noticed. It's lovely, and it's exciting. I mean, I just come up just to hang out with Tina and see bears, So, they have different motivations in social situations. Obviously, everybody thinks bears and food. Well, that's true, they need to eat, but it's not as important as we think. It is important, obviously, but there's more to bears than food. They're not stomach on legs, like I've heard bears explain. They're way more complex than that. They also work, dominance is something that we see in bear behavior quite often with young males, or it could be females. But it can be a play dominance where they show who's, I'm boss. No, I'm not boss. And you get this sort of back and forth with another bear. And when they're young, sometimes they can do that with people, less often, but they will take people as they will communicate to people. Yeah, no, I like being here. And you'll come across a bear that just wants to stand and stare at you. So those kind of things, we need to probably just discuss that a bit. I call it land grabbing. It might even take a step in your direction. So has anybody seen a bear do that, where they're standing there, you're over there, and they go, has anybody seen a bear walk toward? Yeah. So with that, that's land grabbing. It's a way of communicating that, no, I want this space. And then if the other bear says, no, actually, I want this space, then it can go back and forth for a bit. And eventually not often is there actual contact with them. They're just trying to get more area or space or, So I call that land grabbing, and it shows that they're just playing a game of dominance. And as I said, it's most often with young bears. That have one bear in particular you'll meet is her name is Perfect. And she was, and she's tried that with me. Didn't go too well for her. And she learned that, no, that's not acceptable. And I let her know, you know, strong, firm voice. And she's like, oh, you're being not as nice as you usually are. Okay, she left. And she remembered that I don't appreciate her walking up to me. That's not polite. And if I didn't teach her at that particular time, she's gonna learn from other bears anyway. So when we hear about bears walking up to people at all, it's usually younger bears. And eventually those bears learn from other bears not to do that, because it's a very disrespectful thing in bear world. And so they'll sometimes try that a bit with us. And again, it's not to be a bad bear or to be an aggressive bear. It's nothing like that. They just play this game of dominance. Sometimes we don't see it often, but we do see it. And again, it's going to be the younger ones, and it could be male or female. Any questions on that? Anybody seen that? Yeah, so, and so it can happen. Yeah.
In the village where they just guess that they feel that they don't belong there, or just
Why are they in the village?
So just because there's so many people there, right? Yeah. How do you feel? Like, do they feel like they're in the village? And
Yeah.
are they like so worried with my spirit?
So take it. So I'm sorry, let me know if this is answering your question, but the reason why bears are in your community, the garbage, the attractants are dealt with quite nicely, actually. It's amazing. And I must say, you must do that because, you know, this community is very good that way. So why are they still here, you know, amongst the community? And the biggest factor is who are they and where are they at in their life? They're the young bear, they're the old bear, they're the moms with cubs, they're the sick bear, you know, maybe having unwellness, and maybe they're a wounded bear with a broken foot. That will heal, by the way, they heal very, very well. So those are the bears that we're most often going to encounter, are bears that are in a vulnerable place in their life. And that's why they come here. Why would they come here where there's people? Because the bigger, older, more dominant bears don't have to be here, and they prefer to stay further away. Until this bear heals or has the cubs grow up, this bear is going to hang out a little bit amongst where the community is, because they trust you to keep them safe, and they trust the area is a safe place. And while they're here, they may find, you know, some grass over here, or hopefully not many attractants, but it can happen, as we know. But they will find food. That's not the biggest factor. Their big factor is that they're looking for safety. Anybody didn't know that? Anybody? Yeah. So interesting, right? So you think about, you go through your Rolodex and go, hey, I remember that bear, that bear, that bear. And that was a mom and cub, that was a wounded bear, that was a sick bear, that's an older bear. You know, now I'm not saying all the time, there are bears that are, you know, just coming down and they're a little more food motivated. So I'm not saying it's always, but usually it's going to be the vulnerable population that you're going to have very tight close, and you create safe space for them.
Maybe
Yeah.
also the, especially the younger generations, that
Yeah.
they have an innate curiosity.
Yes, yeah, they do.
Of what this is all about.
Yeah.
What's it about?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, curiosity is a big part of their behavior, Bob, and that's for sure. And they need to explore. And they do, they find this area interesting as well. There's lots of fun things, there's new things, and eventually, you know, but once they're healthy, once they become more able, they will move to the farther reaches of their home range. So when you see a bear, they're trusting you, and that's why they're reciprocal altruistic. So they build relationships with others, individuals, and just generally areas, because they know they benefit from that relationship in the future. And that's reciprocal altruistic. And that's what we do. And so humans and bears are very similar that way. Apparently, they're the only two, according to Ben Phillip, that have reciprocal altruism behavior, which is super cool. So relationships, again, going back to who bears are, relationships, very important to bears. My goodness, I may get through this yet. Okay, so curiosity, as you said, Bob, yeah, it's a factor in a bear's existence for sure. And it does, you see that more in the young ones. What to bring when in areas where bears live? Bring your basic understanding. You're here tonight, so you're going to learn something. I hope tonight, I hope I can give you a gem of some kind from the bears. And you can walk out with some understanding that you didn't perhaps. You swivel head awareness, you know, you're walking through areas, you're on trails, just be aware. If there's a bear around, I really recommend just knowing ahead of time that there's a bear on a berry bush over there. Be able to identify bear signs. Well, we're gonna get into that. Again, as a guide, I'm a little people centric, we could say, I'm going through things, bringing my guests around and say, oh, he's been eating, you know, because their digestive system is super short and it goes right through them. So you end up with a lot of like salmon eggs or berries that are all intact and full and what kind of grasses and, you know, so I'm like, oh, check this out. This is a, you know, a crab apple, you know, and so, but anyways, it's just, there's a lot of information in scat, what can I tell you? But yeah, get to know their signs, so what it looks like, and we'll be talking about that more. When and if to use bear spray is that, yeah, and if you do bring bear spray, if you do carry it, you know, you should know how to use it. So take some training. There's inert cans that you can practice with. You don't have to get, you know, with a real can of bear spray. I don't think you can use a can of bear spray without getting it on you. I've come to believe that. So I was really happy when they came out with inert cans. It wasn't quite the negative experience teaching people that I had had. The bear, trust me, there's been a few stories, and we were just talking about one. So their communications, how about the social aspect of a bear's nature? Some of them, again, they're all individuals. Some are very social. Some bears are less social, but for the most part, that is something that bears have. They have a social side to them for sure. The bear on Tuxedo, not knowing how long he's going to be there. There's a whole lot around that bear right now, if everybody's kept up with that story. And I'm happy to answer any questions on that after. But that bear, he's gonna get quite lonely, you know. There isn't another bear out there, so will he stay there? Well, community can be a sense of community form as well. So people can be community as well. But I keep thinking, but there's no bears there, so maybe he's gonna swim back. So it's hard to know. But bears have a sense of history knowledge that they pass on to their offspring. So one thing I have noticed with mother bears is, you know, if they do it, their cubs will do it. And that was so fun to see. I had one bear that I used to watch, Christine. She would slice open a salmon and she'd be in a waterfall area and she'd slice open the belly of a fish that had died that had eggs and didn't spawn, so pre-spawn death. And she would squeeze the eggs on her forearm because she was in a waterfall. So obviously any other way, she'd lose all those precious eggs. So she'd squeeze them on her forearm and she'd lick them off. I saw her daughter, Georgia, a couple of years later, because she had a cub 1 year when I was really watching and like fascinated with her ability to use her forearm as a dinner plate. But the daughter did the same thing. So I was watching her and she's, you know, sub-adult, but she would squeeze and she'd do it, and right in exactly the same areas as well. So the canyon, which is one of the areas I guide, and it's a very narrow, fast-moving area. And she'd lick all her eggs off, and it was just a treasure. She didn't want one to be flushed down, so she's very careful. And it was really fun to watch that. And bears, I talked to, like Trish talked about, one female bear that used to, the way she'd eat grass, she'd pull it in with her paw and she'd eat it and she'd pull down instead of up, you know, and then her cubs did exactly the same thing. So it's little traits that you can start to link families together using. So it's pretty interesting. Of course, you got to be a bit of a bear nerd for that, and I spent a lot of time watching, but it's very interesting. It just shows you how important the knowledge from the previous generation is. And so they have a keen sense of history and knowledge they pass on to offspring. This education from mama their own personal experiences combined with their own personal experience and their unique personality. You have those three things that come together when you encounter them. So what did their mom teach you? Give them space, respect them. You know, what did they learn? Oh, I'm gonna just respect you. You know, and then their personality is like, I'm a little bit shy anyway, so I'm just gonna go around. And then you get ones that are a little more outgoing, and mom teaches them, you know, yeah, don't, just eat, they'll move around, you know. So you get these different lessons, and the bears will learn themselves, their own lessons as well. And you have those three factors, mom's lessons, their lessons, and then their personality all come together. Like us, really. We learn from our families, we learn from our friends, and then we learn, you know, things on our own, and our personalities are unique as well. So, yeah. So this is Dark. Get into a few videos. Dark is a bear. Everyone said she was a cup, and her sister is Perfect. That's her name. She is Perfect as well. So Dark is asking, she just finished a bunch of fish that are on the shore. She's asking some. I want to show you this film, this video, and you'll see. Good girl. Good girl, Dark. Good girl. Right there, she glanced. There she looked, moved up a little bit. Yeah. Everybody know what she wants? She wants, yeah, she wants space, but she wants, yeah, she preferred me to move over, because she's, or away, so she can swim across the river to get to the other side. We left, she swam across, but that to me was really obvious. At some point, I was a little thick at the time, she's like, hey, and I'm like, oh, she's just being social, but no, she's saying, I'm gonna go across. I'm gonna go across. When they're looking like that, that's an indication that they're actually thinking of something. And their eyes will tell you a lot about what they're thinking. So her glance was exactly what I needed to learn, that, you know, that she what she wanted. This is her again, two-eyed stare. She's looking at me. So we held still. And she just moved off, and it was simple, but the two-eyed stare means, you know, yeah, I know where you are, and I'm gonna just keep going. I know where you are. And she, you know, she kept going. Now for us to all of a sudden change her picture isn't always necessary. She's already took a picture. She just came out of the bush in front of us. My guest took this video, and she was in the bush looking to see if everything was good. And she said, yeah, it looks good. I'm pretty comfortable with this, so I'm gonna come out. So she already figured it out. And then she just walked along the edge. It's no surprises for her. She walks along the edge and she's peacefully going where she wants to go. So those are really important, is to be able to see what they're asking and see what they're looking to do. So what are their intentions, right? And if their intentions require you to move away, then it's a fair request. It's the shared area. They move away all the time for us. I always think, you know, bears are always yielding to people. We don't even know the number of times we've moved down trails. My husband and I were walking along a trail, and I'm like, yeah, there's bears totally around here. I don't know if there was bear in bush over there. You just don't always know. But that's politeness that they often bring to our, you know, an encounter. They're very polite. They're not gonna just get uncomfortable, make you uncomfortable. They would prefer to wait for you to just move on there. Yeah, okay. And so many times I'm walking along, my guests would say, Ellie, there's a bear on your right. There's a bear over there. And yeah, Yvonne's been, I guess many times Yvonne and Bob. So yeah, and so right there. And I'm like, I miss that. And they're like, yeah, it's okay, just keep going. I just want to cross the trail once you keep on going, you know. And they do, they'll wait for you. And so every once in a while, it's like, well, I'm gonna just give them that, you know. It's just kind of a shared respect, really. This lady here, she's probably the smallest grizzly in that valley. She had 2 cubs, and she was just moving to So it looks like she's moving towards me, and this is where people get quite concerned is when they do that. So I'm just chatting with her. And she's moving, but you know, she's not coming towards me, she's just finding another log to walk along, right? Fair enough. So again, just knowing that they don't want a problem. They're the kind of animal that really wants to get along with people. That's your black bears and that's your grizzly. They want to get along, they benefit from it. If they didn't benefit from it, they would have winked out. If they didn't want to get along, they would have winked out a long time ago. They wouldn't be around today. If they didn't know how to get along with others, humans, other animals, they know how to get along. They're really good at it. So trust that their intentions are good, because usually they are. Can't say 100%, but there's anomalies in humans too, so. This is Queenie. Queenie's an old female, and she had this little cub named Sweetie Pie. I know, but she was, that's all I can say. And besides that, I'm the only one that probably names bears in our lives, so. But so Queenie was asking something, that you'll see that. Pretty girl, do you want to cross? Pretty obvious. Want to move out of the way, please, so I can come across, it's my path, and she did. So we moved over, went up the hill, she came across, and she was totally polite about it. So again, these encounters sometimes step away. You know, if they're rude, that's different. You know, sometimes you can't, and there are young bears that are pushy, that you can encounter those bears, and you do have to stand your ground for those bears, there's no doubt. Absolutely, and Barry, you probably have stories, right? Right, I can see it in his eyes. I got stories, we could share stories. But yeah, it's amazing, they really are willing to get along, but sometimes you come across one that just needs that lesson. And taking that, you know, that standing your ground, because they're not gonna, they're still walking up to you, we're gonna see some of that with other videos. So this is perfect. Bears are naturally comfortable with others, and this includes people. They're born that way. People say, oh, bears are born fearful. That's not what I've been taught by bears. They're not born fearful by nature. They're not a fearful animal. We create them. We create fear in them, and when we're fearful ourselves. This is perfect. She has approached me her whole life for shielding, for comfort, and she had 2 cubs here that just laid down and fell asleep while she was sleeping. And the reason why she came, she's like, okay, I know you, you're gonna just hang out here for a bit, take a few pictures, go for it, but I'm gonna go sleep, because I know there's not a bear around that's gonna get this close, so I know I'm safe, I know my cubs are safe, so the reason why I'm telling you is to keep you there, to suggest that you make yourself open to this kind of situation. I would say, you know, give her space and walk away, right? I would say that, but let's understand why she was there. She wasn't there to be a bad bear. She was there because she trusted me and the area to keep her safe. Girl. So again, she came from out of, you know, a long ways away, you know, I saw her down the river, we were just having a snack, some water, and she walked and walked and walked, and she came right up there, and yeah, if I wasn't a bear guide showing people bears, I'd probably say, okay, let's leave. But this gives you an opportunity to see their intentions are not bad. This is not what the bear's intentions in this case are to find safety for her cubs, find safety for her. And she's like, damn, it's hard being a grizzly bear mom. It was her first set of cubs. And she said, do you mind just watching these cubs for a little bit while I have space? That is what she was doing. So, and she did that, you know, a few times actually in the season. Okay, so paying attention when a bear is in front of you, that is most important. So when I say swivel head, just be aware of bears down ditches. Every once in a while I hear about a bear coming up ditches, it's spooky. The bear spooks, you spook, everybody spooks, and it's like, I should have just noticed those little ears on the, you know, just over there. And so just try and be a bit vigilant so that there isn't those surprises. because it's uncomfortable for you and it's uncomfortable for them. It doesn't create bad relationships or anything. It doesn't, because they're most likely not gonna be a problem with it. But it's surprise encounters, but it's always a good thing to try and avoid. So despite what's commonly communicated, a person learns to understand their behavior, body language, they will be more likely to have an appropriate response in an encounter with the bear. So watching them, seeing what they're asking for, and that's really what those previous videos were, just to show you that they're really clear in their ability to let you know what they need. And it's okay if you let them know what you need, like, this young one walking over to you, no, you know, you like your teenage, hey, no, you know, and let them know that that's too close, you're uncomfortable. And they really understand tone. People are ringing bells and having jingle bells as they're walking along. I think that's okay, but you know, in an environment like this, they get very used to those sounds. Your voice, that's meaningful. What your tone is meaningful. They understand your tone, right, Barry? They know when you're upset. Hey, no, none of that, you know, you're too close, you know, that, or, hey, nice to see you, you know, yes, you hear me say that all the time, I've done all of the voices, you know, but they always seem to understand my intention. And it's amazing how they can read that, and it's in some ways baffling, and I have a video here that understood that I was uncomfortable, I did nothing. Nothing, so it's amazing, so believing that bears are unpredictable, creates fear in people. I mean, why wouldn't it, right? Like, that's a scary thing, to be out there in the woods and sense of unpredictable behavior. They're not unpredictable. With knowledge of bears, people will understand that they are very predictable, actually, and they prefer to get along with humans and other animals. That's what they prefer to do. In fact, mostly, bears by nature are kind of like, they kind of like and definitely trust people. And that's the bears that are easier to live with. Bears that don't have that wild card fear, and that is, usually they'll just run and take off and just, you know, but, you know, a surprise encounter with a bear that doesn't trust you and is fearful, those bears can be, less predictable, right? It depends on, remember, what did I say? Their lesson, their mom's lesson, and their personality. Get all that together and you're gonna have, so those are, but you don't have to worry too much about that, but just be assured that bears that have no fear are easier to live with than bears with fear. And they're born with no fear. So I can't say that it's stronger than that, because when I'm out in the bush and there's a bear that's fearful, that's the bear I don't want to guide around, right? So I like to guide around bears that are comfortable, and they're respectful, and I'm respectful of them, and I don't push my space on them. They don't like people approaching them. They don't like other bears approaching them. They like space, and some more space than others. So yeah, so it's important. So this is the big guy I had mentioned. So this bear, he was eating a great big spring salmon. I swear it was this big, and he was like perfectly, he was just like watching his claws working this, and it's like fingers. He was so fascinating to watch. He was across the river, and me and two guests were having lunch, and he came around the corner and started eating this big salmon. Did that for 20 minutes. Then he decided, so what you guys doing, you know? So he stepped out and started walking, and he got quite close, but I wanted to take a look at him, watch him. He's respectful too, I'll give him that. But you'll see him looking and glancing as if to say, are you okay? Should I be comfortable with you? Are you good? We're doing nothing. I'm talking to my guests, and we're letting it, it's like maybe it'll cross and go up river, you know? So he crosses, and he didn't go left, he didn't go right, he came walking towards us. So my guests were behind me, and I said, and I was saying, he's fine, he's not gonna get too close. He stepped and he got so that that was enough.
And he was huge. He was a big 9-year-old man. And, yeah, so I said, it's not always younger bears, but usually. But this boy, he came quite, he was comfortable. He was very comfortable, but he gave me that, you know, are you comfortable kind of feeling. And so I didn't say anything, and he looked, and then he looked at me, and then he went back across the river and then finished his salmon. And he wasn't fearful, but he's respectful, and he saw that I didn't want any part of this. It was too close, and he understood that. I had to say nothing. So they are very intuitive. They recognize your intentions, and it's amazing how they read you, you know, beyond body language. I don't know how he knew, but yeah, I was ready to say, that's close enough, buddy. You know, I was going to say that, and I didn't have to say anything. It's like, I'm like, yeah, good boy, you know. So anyways, but yeah, they're amazingly sensitive animals. We have a lot of strong tactics being used on soft animals in the BC Conservation Officer Service. These animals are soft. They're very soft animals. They need soft skills more than they need hard skills to communicate to them boundaries and relationship. Yeah. All bears have a personal space around them that they monitor, so really important to keep that in mind. They're not all the same. What to do when you see a bear, enjoy it. As long as, you know, I'm gonna actually, just do, based on time, I tend to be a little long, and I want to bring this video in, and see if there's anybody with questions. Like, roll bear, roll bear.
Okay.
Watch this bear. Watch her behavior. Watch as she escalates in behavior.
Okay.
Here's a guy trying to leave, right? He wants to leave. She's not letting him. A young bear, again. Have to try now, a little quicker.
Hey.
Like, nothing to see here, I'm just gonna climb a tree. Oh, rascal. Yeah, get confident now. Come on, get up there, you say. Up there. You know that land grabbing that I talked about? Stick up that. It's like trying to do the right thing, give me space. Yeah. What you got there? It's like, I think I'm close, I'm a bear, don't you know? Where bears get in trouble because it thought that this bear is being predatory. Not so good bear. Awesome, finally, he's true that thing. Yeah.
Like,
Any comments?
if you had stepped forward, I know it's, we've experienced
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But if you had gone and stepped forward, what do you think would have happened?
So, well, let's talk about the bear's intention.
Right.
What's the bear doing? Everybody would go, oh, it's being predatory perhaps, you know, there'd be, so I'm gonna get closer and then I'm gonna eat him. That's just so not in the bear's diet. It's not really a big part of the bear's diet. So not so much. I would put it as any thought on this.
Pushing their period.
Yeah.
It's just playing, almost like a sibling.
Thank you, yeah, just like playing, like I said, playing, yeah, so don't for sure, but it's like that dominance play.
Yeah.
The dominance play that you often know. Happens, that's just bear language, and a grizzly bear, more recently, someone was telling me about him, and it was a dominance play thing, and it was a young bear again, so in that backing away, land grabbing, moving, getting more confident, that's what they do to each other. So what should he have done, Tina?
Well, he could have tried that step forward straight away to stop it.
Yeah.
I mean, even a step forward probably.
Because he's
would have
not
stopped
getting
it.
away, right?
No.
He's not getting away, the bear's not gonna let him away.
No.
The bear gets bored with it, but let's just say the bear decides that this is the best game ever, right? And so keeps pushing him and gets right up there and sniffs him and was in his face, maybe gives him a little whack on his leg, but you know, he's a black bear, so he's not gonna do the touchdown. And he's young one too, so he's not gonna have the confidence to do that much damage. That's very unlikely, let's just go with that. But it's still extremely bad and very rude, and the bear knows it, so, but he hasn't been taught strong enough language on it, so what Tina said, stand your ground. So in a bear situation like that, you give him that space, you go, hey, it's okay, bear, I'm getting back, hey, you know, it's okay, I'm gonna get out of here. Bear's just getting strong, hey, yeah, I'm good, bear, he's really happy about that, he's actually a bit dominant now, and he's getting stronger on his dominance. So you stand your ground, and the bear's like, whoa, oh, so doesn't know what to do with himself, then he's like, one step. And I guess that's where that video is good, you know, video that I did on our bear that's doing that. That one step with the bear spray in front of you, hey, use your voice first, hey, bear, before you do anything, bear spray out, right? If you don't have bear spray, grab a stick and keep that stick right here, make sure he doesn't get any closer than that. Hey, bear, none of that, nope, no. And really firm, usually bears, that's good enough. That's like, whoa, I was playing, you know, but yeah, go ahead.
I have a question, but what if they have a brown or something like
Sure.
that? But I said that the president that I should protect myself and will attack instead of grabbing the land. We're grabbing the land now. We're grabbing the land now. We're grabbing the land. Why do you look at this?
Why?
And not going on way, but going forward.
Yeah, so using umbrella is not a bad idea. If you take your step forward, I have yet to see a bear, and I'm not saying, you know, an old dominant male, he might just, you know, keep going. But I've not come across a bear that didn't respect that. Yeah, so that is bears, that is black bears and grizzlies, but black bears for sure, you're gonna dissuade them from that behavior. And so, but have your bears for out front, you know, because they have that unique personality and they have all those their traits. But taking a stand is your only option when a bear is being rude like that. And trust me, in a year, there's gonna be a couple of them for me to have to deal with. And they'll most likely only do it once to me. I don't even need the bear spray.
So if you're on the valley trail.
Yeah.
And the bear is following.
Yeah.
Is it better to turn around and stand your ground or step aside for respect?
So
That.
yeah, so different, and we've got a video on that. So that's a different thing. This is actually encroaching on purpose your space. The one you're talking about, that's more, yeah, it's more going to his favorite berry bush. Excuse me, would you mind moving up? Just for a second, just got a berry bush on the other side over there, you know? And so that's different. Just get off the trail, let him wander on by. That's different. But a bear, that's more than his hand. You know, like that's more dominant play, big.
Up the tree.
Up the tree, you know, and that's bad behavior, but here's the thing, if we weren't in their world, who would teach them? Anybody? Another bear, a sibling, yeah, exactly, Clara, as you know, it's gonna be a sibling or another, a more dominant bear. One that's just, and you know what, they're not gonna carry that behavior for the rest of their life, because they would not survive past adolescence. There'd be some other bear kill them. I mean, that's how rude it is in the bear world to come up to another bear and not respect their space, right? So, they learn very quickly or they die. That's the world of the bear. So, yeah. Okay, so reasons why bears approach, curiosity. Mine wouldn't put that's curious, that's a dominant kind of thing. Typically bears are comfortable, as I said. They're sometimes wanting people's food, less often, but it can happen in a community setting, but less often. It's usually more dominant thing, but just be aware, that it's just quite unlikely, but you do the same thing, back off, let them know, back off. And be firm with them, like you would your teenager, sorry, I think back this up. It could be that bear's testing, yeah, there we go. In this case, the bottom one is what it is. I would compensate, so again, I was just putting this in there, good to practice that bear spray thing, have your bear spray out when you need it. And it's good to carry bear spray. There's nothing wrong with carrying bear spray. I mean, you only miss it if you need it, right? But I've never actually used it guiding ever. But I've taken it out several times, but we worked it out, So it was a good conversation in a couple of those situations. But they were, but it worked out, and I'm grateful for their patience in teaching as well. We learned about their behaviors through encounters. What are some of the options on encounters on a trail? Points to ponder the vulnerable population. Yeah, I think I went over a lot of this. What motivates the bear to move in the direction of people, which is what Yvonne was asking. So bears could be walking on a trail towards a favorite berry bush or a rub tree, right? And it looks like they're coming towards you. They're just sauntering, but they're actually potentially, you might not have anything to do with that. That might have nothing to do with that bear at that moment. They just would prefer you would just move over a little bit. So bears could be curious and perhaps choose to hang out, social, and a little bit social. Maybe they'll just, safety, still that hanging out, making sure that they have a safe environment while the bigger or dominant bears are over there. So they have different reasons, but at any point you're allowed to say, no, don't get so close, and give them that. And if you can get away when they're getting closer, that's fine. But again, bears learn not to. Usually it goes to those young guys. Okay, so here's an example. These are 3-year-olds. Ivory's one of her litters, and they're big boys. And you'll see Ivory in the background there. This was actually one of the other fives that this happened with. So I knew these bears though, and definitely were strong, kind of typical, kind of young males, like, hey, again, kind of get a little closer and all that. I don't think I have volume on this because it was, I don't know why I didn't get it. There's mom in the background, she's like, hey boys, hey boys, we know what to do here. Remember I showed you, we just go in the bush and go around these people, go wait, boys, and they're like, Mom, there's a bunch of people here, I want to go check them out. Like, this is really what's going through their head, right? It's just like, go, and the one that's to the far one there, he was the naughtiest boy sometimes. He would be, he would do that. He just kind of get too close. Mom's like, hey, what did I tell you? Come on, we just have to go over here a little bit. And anyway, this one was a real sweetie, but this one, the sibling was a nightmare. Anyways, and Jan, we'll talk about that. I know, right? Like, here's hurry to go everywhere. So, very typical, his brother being the naughty boy, he's always the instigator, but like not really being like And that's when then they eventually said, okay, mom, okay, you know, they followed her, but the point is, you know, they are curious, right? And they're looking for social, something social, and are they being dominant, play dominant, very lightly play dominant, definitely. But they would have been easy to have, you know, I could have, left. And Jessup did. He was able to get everybody, you know, a little further away and everything. They didn't follow him. Mom was the good teacher. She said, you don't follow people. So anyway, she was a good mom and she got them eventually to follow her, which is like she was trying to over us. So anyway, different personalities, right? But how to handle it. Any questions on that? So far, yeah.
I don't think you've identified any behavioral differences between black bears and grizzlies.
Yeah, that's a good question. It's not a lot, despite, you know, black bear biologists and grizzly bear biologists, but my experience, I see their language as being fairly similar. So black bears will send their cubs up tree and stand tree, you know, and they're you know, stay there, but they could be moved off. Some of them, again, different personalities. Grizzlies, you know, the cubs are gonna just get closer. They're not necessarily gonna go off a tree. Grizzly claws are more flat, more digging, more stayed. Black bears more suitable for climbing. It's just sort of in their nature is safety is up the tree. We knew when we were looking for those cubs that they were gonna be up a tree. They were gonna go down to go up. Whereas grizzly cubs wouldn't be necessarily is dedicated to going up a tree. So mom has them closer and that's how she protects them. Yeah, there really isn't anything really that stands out on the difference. I would say black bears are a little easier to move off of things, like, yeah, they're somewhere that, hey, no, and they're like, whoa, okay, you know, and then, but grizzlies, they might stand there and look at you like, are you serious? You know, they might just take a little while to think about it, but they're similar in their behaviors. So I don't spend a lot of time showing differences, but more something that we can hang on to. I wouldn't be too concerned about that big grizzly that's hanging out here in Whistler being anything but a really, I'm sure that he's and he's young, I think. Is he young, Tina?
Yeah.
I haven't seen a picture of him for a while. I think he's quite young. But he's gonna be a bear that wants to get along, like definitely. He's not a bear that's going to want to be a problem. And that would be the same with all your black bears. So you're not gonna see a difference there. He's here again, he's vulnerable, he's younger, and he finds safety here. So there's other population of grizzlies around. He's gonna try and avoid that. And he's gonna stay here. If he's not in,
You know, it's behind the golf fighters.
oh, Harry.
Yeah, he's enjoying the golf club, but he's not, definitely not like an aggressor
Yeah.
looking at all.
Yeah. And it's a female or male, I haven't really spent time.
It's a male.
Oh, it's boy, yeah, it's probably a young boy still learning and finding safety. Has everybody seen him or not seen him? Yeah. Okay, well, not so different than your black bear, you know, just respect his space, absolutely, and talk to him if you encounter him close. Let him know, hey, it's okay, boy, it's okay. I'm gonna just let you have this trail. I'm gonna just walk over here and be, you know. Yeah, I wouldn't slip by bears. That's, you know, you hear people go, I'm just gonna, you know, that's not a good. You know, that works most of the time, but you know, it's that other 1 in a million times, it's just not worth the risk. So just choose a different trail. Yeah.
So why therefore do we have this idea that grizzlies are bad? And black bears are along the other side. Why? Yeah, there's one grizzly spot and the whole
Yeah.
town is
It's just, I don't know why they've had the bad rap. They really are not deserving of it. They like all of us and black bears need to be understood. But they're all gonna have different personalities. Gosh, this grizzlies can be the most chill bears ever. It's amazing. Anyways, I just gotta keep sharing, but I don't suggest that you treat them differently than black bears. Treat them with respect, like you would black bears. Give them space, but don't be like sure that if you end up in a close encounter, that it's like the end of them. Because it probably isn't, you know, they're just gonna, oh, what? Where'd you come from? You know, and this is my encounters with bears. Trust me, I'm on trails. That's all I do. I walk along trails with guests or on my own, and I encounter bears. At times, not on purpose, but close. And they're like, oh, where'd you come from? And I'm like, whoa, where'd you come from, you know? And it's just that moment, and I go with that hello, hello moment, you know? And then I stand there and I go, I'm okay if you're okay. It's like, yeah, I'm okay if you're okay. Okay, and they just do their thing. And that's bears. And, but not too bad. Just relax, give them space, talk to them, and be calm. And they really appreciate it.
It's
Yeah.
the dogs, Ellie, isn't it? Unfortunately. the
We're gonna
dogs.
get into dogs, and I have lots to say about the dogs, yes.
I might have seen one of the little ones, the mother that was still in Havenwood. But how old do you think they are now? The babies, the cubs, how old do you think they are?
Oh,
They
there's
got-
another lot up there. Yeah, there's another.
Because I saw one on Alta Lane on the trail and I just stood and watched it for 10 minutes
He's by himself,
by himself.
yeah.
I didn't see a mom. I didn't hear any mom, and then I crossed the river truck and went towards the Tyrell Lodge. And I talked to a friend who's also been a bear guide.
Okay,
It was eating dandelions, it was good looking, like healthy.
Yeah.
To be honestly, I talked to conservation officers a few years ago, they said they don't have enough here. When we report things, sometimes they actually have to kill them.
yeah.
So I'm like, Mother Nature will take care of them, you know, so. It looked very healthy, it respected my space, you know, it didn't come towards me, it just disappeared.
Well, you know what, we'll talk to you after, and if there's an orphan, we'll wanna know about that for sure. And we wouldn't leave an orphan, yeah, so thank you very much for that. Yeah, so the bear would maybe be about six months old
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
It would be maybe 10
He
pounds.
was bigger, yeah, he was already, yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
bears, so. he looked
So
like
a tiny
6,
little
7 months.
bear,
Yeah,
and
not
we'll talk more about that after. I'd love to hear more about what he looked like, if you have pictures as well. Well,
I didn't take a picture, I just.
I do have a picture of him.
okay,
Yeah,
is he here then, or
I
is he?
sent it actually.
Okay,
And he's the same one that was run by Rita Lake.
okay,
And
yeah,
you're right, it does look,
say boy,
well, it looks like it's a
Boy
boy
is-
based on what you were telling me about.
of the year, so boy is this year's house. If he was next year's or last year's house, then he'd be a yearling. And we can actually at this time, maybe someday be able to help them out. But we can at this point help us here.
I was just, to be honest, thinking,
Yeah.
if he wasn't to be found, maybe he just has some other energies that are protecting him, and he wasn't meant to be found.
How big is he about?
He was
20
definitely not a
pounds.
yearling.
He
Like,
was,
he was
no,
smaller
he's
than-
very short. I
Yeah.
would say that's something to look into.
Yeah, definitely.
I haven't.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we'll talk more, because I really, really want to see him.
I saw him last, because I saw the patch.
Good to know.
I
Yeah.
saw him, I was like, well.
And that's what it's like living with these animals. Sometimes there's orphans, sometimes they're, you know, the mom gets killed on the highway, sometimes mom gets killed in the case of Cadenwood. Got killed by conservation service. And sometimes, you know, they just, but I can be confident to say, when people say, oh, the mom must have abandoned them. Do you know, I've never come across, has anybody ever thought that a mom would abandon a cub? They don't. And I've asked many professionals downstates, Tim Manley, I mean, I've asked many people about experiences, 35 years, never had a cub that was abandoned by a mom. Ever. And so I have never, if anything, if the cub is unwell or sick or injured, mom slows her whole pace down and goes with how that cub's pace is. So they are incredible moms and they don't abandon cubs. Now, that said, I believe there was one where this mom was always not a great mom and did actually end up abandoning, and that was one. So I shouldn't say never. It can happen. The anomaly of it all, when I added all the years together, over 100 years of experience with the people that I asked, they never saw except that one. So that's how rare it is. So there's no food or someone, mom will still take care of that cow. They'll put their life out for that cow. That's family. right? So I think it's relatable, right? We're like that with our families, so. Okay, so here's a scary situation. So this bear, I want you to take a look and see what you think. So he's backing up, obviously. The bear thinking. Probably.
Through my way, though.
Yeah, see him look to the left there, look to the right, he's like, there's gotta be an easy trail around here that hard. So he's trying to figure out a way to, get around, right? Yeah, that's all she, the female grizzly, but she definitely is not interested in scaring the tar out of him, so she's trying to figure it out. And he's ready, he's it's a little bit and breathe. And she's still coming though, yeah, right, Barry, she's still coming. Yeah, it's like, he should take me out of here. All right. We're gonna have to kind of, I shouldn't be sure that. Okay, I'll finish it for you. She was looking for a way to get around it. She did find it. I went around. So this video for you. So this is kind of the same idea. I know, but a video. It's brilliant. Okay. I want to use this one. I will. What did I do up or down?
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Oh, I know. I have to exit first, and then I can expand.
While breathing as well, they can tell straight away when you start hyperventilating. It's definitely better to practice pranayama.
Yeah, that's that. Oh, you guys, sorry. Bear with me. Yeah, but it could be anywhere. I just was saying about that.
But you already mentioned this.
It's scary. You don't know the intentions of those animals, right? Say yeah, yeah. So, yeah, so.
He was really chill that time, it wasn't.
So chill, like, yeah. So this bear is also kind of looking around. Yeah. So, I need to, keep going with that. I mean, just get off the trail, let the bear walk on by, and, it will be fine. And, that bear, had, completely no bad ill intentions. She was actually that was her route, probably same time every day. I know when bears are moving, they are very young. Has anybody ever seen a bear in the same spot, same time of day? That their routine, like, I don't know, I'm a routine person, I think most humans are, bears are as well. So this bear probably goes, yeah, the berries are right up there, I already got those guys back there, so I'm gonna go get these berries because they should be all ready, and my rub tree, I'm gonna get a good rub on that, so this is kind of probably what he's thinking, and a big female, I think, but I never really got a close view on her. But yeah, the last thing she was interested in is to cause a problem, and so I think those are really important. Now, if you can't get off the trail, here's the cool thing, and I don't think I have a video of it, but yeah, just how to say, hey bear, you know, just go around. Actually, I do have a video of me, telling the bear to go, you know, to, I was getting off trail, letting by, and I'll show it to you. Actually, it's next. There we go. Okay, and I need to put this in play again. Yeah. All right, so this is a young bear, and he, yeah, so I'm off the side, and I said, and I'm talking to him, keeping him calm, I got my guests off the side. We could go a lot deeper without it just being stumbling, so we stayed there. He's like, no, I'm not gonna walk by, I'm gonna find an opening over here, and I'm gonna go around. Maybe 3 or 4. So he's a young bear, around 3 or 4 years old, probably more 4. So she's working at what? Think like getting along, she doesn't want a problem, she's just going to go around this thing, she doesn't need from us. Is that's going, okay, let's go over here, you know, and all this scurry, just be calm. And that's so important around these animals, and let them navigate, they're really good at it, and let them work around, and that's what she did it beautifully, and kept going, you know. So, so that is, something to think about when you're on trail with these animals, is they'll tell you what they need, and if you listen to them, they'll be very clear about it. Treating these animals fairly is really important, and kind as well. The difference, I'm gonna probably, here's it. So I knew my number was off. So 67, that's why it was such a big deal. Yeah, I'm like, where did the 60? So 67 people have been killed, have lost their lives to black bears, not 600 and some, so 67. So in 125 years, 67. I just got that stat last week, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I didn't miss that, but anyway, so you guys know, it's a very rare thing that a bear kills people. Bears and dogs. Everybody has had or seen encounters with dogs. Okay, I can say that very clearly. What I've learned from bears and wolves go way back. They're not friends, and there's this genetic potential, genetic code. Cellular code in them that they don't, that they don't forget that wolves are not their friend, and they're very aware. Anybody know why wolves are not a friend for bears? Yeah, they can definitely eat a black bear, no problem there. Wolves are the top predators. They can take down a pretty good sized bear if they wanted to. So, and also they take cubs. I couldn't tell you how many times I've come across scat with bear hair in it, so, or vertebrae or claws. You know, it's grizzly and black bear. Yeah, so wolf scat can have, interesting stuff, being that people essentially died and all. Anybody died with me, we stopped in a few piles here. But it's very common for wolf, let's just say it is normal for wolves to take bear cubs on occasion, if they choose to. And so bears have learned to not like them for that reason, they lose family. So interesting fact, over 54% of bear attacks, there's a dog involved. So that's huge. Anybody thought that? That's amazing. And that is a stat by Stephen Herrero. If anybody's ever heard him, he's world renowned bear person, and he worked both with government and not independently, but he's brilliant. He's considered quite the authority in his day. So that is a high number. So keeping that in mind, off-leash dogs can result in traumatizing bears. Traumatized bear is a fearful bear with bad memory. So if this happens, it can create a problem for bears, humans, and dogs themselves, where they didn't have to be a problem there at all. So let's keep that in mind with dogs. When an off-leash dog chases the bear, the dog owner risks putting on-leash dogs and the law-abiding owner having them on leash or by law-abiding in the line of fire. They risk that because off-leash dogs create trauma in bears, and that bear generalizes on dogs. And then it doesn't matter where the dog is, on or off leash. At times with that certain personality in bear, that dog's a problem. And that's when we hear about dogs getting hurt or running back to the owner and causing a problem for the owner as well. And so there's often be the case, there's dogs involved. So bears can generalize, and that's the big thing. So they can see things individually, but if they get enough experiences that are negative with that particular, they generalize on, say, dogs. So they would say, oh, this dog, but these dogs are good. I mean, they'll get to know what dogs are actually pretty good to get along with. But if they get so that they have had bad experiences with a lot of dogs, and I think with dogs, my understanding is they have to have 3 really bad experiences, then they start to generalize, and all of a sudden it's all dogs are a problem. And so it's a responsibility that people that have dogs to not create those problems with bears, because a fearful bear is a bear that's hard to predict. So having dogs on leash is imperative to a peaceful place to coexist together with bears. Any questions on dogs so far? I have a lot more to say. Okay, bears, especially the whistler bears, consider humans a part of their community. They're determined the areas in and around human settlements are safer than outside areas, as we talked about some cultures, but dogs are different. Here's the dog bear encounter. Scary. To her life is at risk. Her cubs' lives are at risk. And it's traumatizing. Doesn't matter if a chihuahua comes at them. They don't go by size. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You too. So it doesn't matter. They don't recognize sizes. They just recognize it's a dog. Another one. You can hear it. I mean, it's just total. Back to the tree of I mean, it's terrifying for them. And so let's remember that they're a soft animal, like I said, they're not a hard animal. So they can traumatize if they get trauma and it gets deep, and that kind of experience is very traumatizing for that mom and for us. There's a little one that's being chased. Like, that's terrifying. That's why dogs bring in problems to bears, and that's why, and that's a good dog. I mean, that's a good dog, right? That's a herding dog, a working dog, but the dog's off leash. So you get enough of those off leash, you get the 3 for dogs anyway, and, so I'm thinking 3 for bears, but they get bad experiences, they never forget. Remember I said they never forget the individuals in front of them, never forget their experiences. So this is something we need to avoid, is creating problems where there doesn't have to be that. So they like to be in peace, and they like to coexist beautifully with others. Dogs are definitely need to be leashed to have a peaceful community for these animals, for the people and for the dogs. Yeah.
I think we had a bit reacting to the counting, or just when they see the dog.
Well, the dog is in prey drive, so he's chasing. But just, yeah.
If the dog is calm and sitting there next to you, see the dog, then see the bear, then it becomes a leash.
Yeah, so mostly bears are gonna just blow off dogs that are just calm, because they recognize calm energy, but that's not always. If they're traumatized, then there's the chance that the bear is unhappy with dogs around just generally. If the dog's calm, it's very unlikely that you're gonna have any problem. Let's just go with that. Very, I would say. But if the dog is not calm, like they're the genetics say, don't be calm around a bear, everything about bear, you hear a bark and a dog and you go, there's a bear there. You know the difference between that bark and that bark, there's a different bark. And then you go, okay, grizzly and black bear bark, that's a different bark too. So, but there, yeah, the dog is not calm, but that could be much more an issue for a bear for sure, whether he's on leash or off. So that's a good question. Calm energy, that's bears. They like calm, predictable, comfortable energy, and dogs don't always provide that for bears. Yeah.
And if there are cubs, like, is it just the smell of the dog?
Yeah, so that's the real traumatized situation, right? It could be that the smell of the dog is threatening. Are they more defensive when they have cubs? Well, black bears are not particularly defensive, not like grizzlies are more likely to get their backs up with, you know, be more defensive because they're on the ground. They send the black bears send their cubs up, so they stay at the bottom like this mother would. So yeah, I mean, they will defend the cubs, but you know, by staying around the bottom of the tree and chasing dog off, which is what she did, but yeah, you definitely don't want high energy, unfair treatment from a dog for a bear when you're living in close areas. Because again, 54% of problems, bear attacks, there's a dog involved. So even Cadenwood, there was a dog there, wasn't there, Tina? I don't know how involved that dog was, but there was a dog there. I don't know anything more than that. But if there was even a bark or a smell or something that may have brought, I don't know, because I don't know. But that kind of situation could escalate because there's a dog there, right? So just keep that in mind. Bears do not like dogs. Oh, one more. This is one I've learned to stay up a tree and just stay there until things settle down. And it's full size bear. And it's, you know, it's a lot of weight to haul up a tree, but that's it's only out, right? All right, so that's dogs. So let's talk about some of their, so bears have different sounds, the jaw popping, the clanking. How am I doing for time? Am I just crazy? I hope so. Everybody good? Okay. So jaw popping, that's where they put air in their jaw and it's a snappy sound in their jaw. That's that's a high level of stress. If you ever hear that in black bear or grizzly bear, it's kind of uncommon, but that is what that is. Have you ever heard that? Where their jaws, like not the teeth, but the jaws actually making noise. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, so that could be from a dog, you know, and you hear the clacking in jaw, could be from another bear, and you hear that clacking in jaw. And huffs as well, you know, everybody's heard that, even in the bush. Oh yeah, okay, I'll just go around this way a little bit, you know. So they will show concern. That doesn't mean that high level of stress, but they're concerned. Moaning is high stress. So if a bear's in a trap, you sometimes will hear them go, oh, that is stress, horrible stress. So and it's moaning. You have rapid teeth clack, you know, you hear, you know, that kind of thing with black bears. You would have probably more heard that, but it's grizzlies as well. And that is concern, right? And the nice thing about it, they give us lots of chance to go, oh, you're concerned, I think I'll move over here, right? So if a bear tells you, whereas if they didn't tell you that, then you go, guys, he's good, I'm just gonna, you know, move over here, but you know, and he's like, no, I'm not good, you know, so, but he's letting you know that he's not good, he's not comfortable, so that's a good thing. It's sort of like the rattlesnake with the tail, right? Everybody's like, oh, I hate rattlesnakes, and then, but they're actually giving you lots of time to work it out, get around them, you know. Bears do that, they're really fair that way, and they don't want encounters. Chucking, purring, when cubs nurse, they often will purr, which is really cool if the mama purrs as well. Yeah, so some different cause why I've seen that a few times, and that's a little bit more like mad. So, but Yeah, and I mean, they're vocal. There's also mama calling their cubs and you hear. That's it. And yeah, I had to turn out my volume just to hear it sometimes, very subtle. But the cubs are like, whoa, yes, mom, I'm right here, and they're like really, really good kids. They will gather around mom and they'll be very respectful. If she huffs, they're there. And if she huffs, they're up the tree. So whatever she says, they listen very carefully. Nothing like a mother bear is for me, right? Like if she's upset about something, she'll sure that's a no. I have a lot of videos of mamas just saying, hey, pay attention. Right? Bears on trails, some of the signs, bear sign tracks, rub trees, places where they rub on. Has anybody seen a rub tree ever? Ever? Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess so. So rub trees are places where I kind of call it social media of the forest. It's a tree that has a lot of scent on it from bears, from other animals. Could be from a cougar spraying on there. Could be wolf scat and then peeing on the tree. Could be deer. Could be other animals that are. But the primary is really the maker is more the bears. But it's information, right? Barry, you come across rub trees. And what would you call it? I call it social media of the forest, but do you have a rub tree or scratch tree or?
Like, more of a marked territory, like my territory, I think we're.
Yeah.
See that sign? Yeah, giving you a choice, that's literally, yeah, the choice. Which you want to do.
And not
What if you have a choice, you better make a choice.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I know another way that I've had it explained it. It's like a fence. You can either crawl over the fence or you can stay on your side. And yeah, I mean boundaries are normal for bears in the forest. They draw lines, and other animals do too. And bears respect lines and boundaries. So when we say don't come anywhere closer, this is too close. Don't get on my deck. They understand that they shouldn't get on your deck. So you're allowed to draw boundaries and don't let them do things that you don't want them to do. Just talk firmly with them. Do you have something more to add?
Well, we had them on our balcony, we had them in our porch.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they were telling me the last whole thing. Yeah. So, yeah, so with that, I mean, with the lodge, I have, since they were cubs, I would let them know that there's some no-go zones behind the lodge where the cookhouse is. I'm like, no, you're not allowed to go past there. And, but, I'm not telling people to do that. I'm just saying from your window with safe distance and everything, tell the bear to leave. You don't get on my balcony, don't get on my porch. You're not allowed in here. That's, bears are very comfortable. They're happy to sleep on your lawn chair, on your balcony. I mean, they are, because that's the door. In that, yeah, you're guaranteed. They're just, they look that. Oh, yeah, and hot tubs, yeah, like they'll do that kind of stuff. That's bears. They're very naturally inclined to be comfortable with their environment, right? And with the people that they coexist with. So, but they respect you if you tell them no. And no, you're not allowed to be that close. No, you're not allowed to be in my hot tub, But yeah, just keep that in mind. Boundaries are normal and healthy and very understood by bears. They appreciate knowing when they shouldn't. And so do we, so it's kind of similar to that. Browse at the end of plants. I mean, I'm walking down, I said, Ash and I are walking on this trail. I'm like, oh yeah, this bear here. It's like a salad, there's all these crushed dandelions everywhere. And I don't know, sometimes even after all these years, Ash maybe it's going, yeah, maybe, but maybe not. Do you think that there was a bear? Or
There's a bear bed and I'm sure every trail.
I see so much.
So many bear beds, I don't know where all the bears are.
I know, it's weird. I mean, there's so much, it's like you're reading, it's like I'm seeing it in front of me all the time when I'm in the forest. I can see it all. It's like, so I bring it on and my guests will go, oh yeah, okay, sure, you know, and then also they're an example, they're doing exactly what I just said it's doing, so, but, I mean, I've been, right, well, but it's fun putting these stories together, the forest is full of stories, and it's really fun, kind of getting familiar with those stories, and I'm sure moving through the areas that you and Clara move through in your land, you can see changes, like you would see when there's maybe a new bear in the area, or maybe there's, you know, you don't even see a bear, but maybe there's just something that is additional. Maybe there's a new trail that the bears are starting to use, maybe, you know, I mean, you start to recognize just, things, so pay attention, it's really fun. And start to link those stories together, and who cares if you're wrong, it's gonna bust in the bear, so, you know. But anyways, it's just fun to be a part of that. So this old boy. Now, I pay attention to penis, and the reason why I say that is because he's peeing away, and when they're that, he's old. And so he's got a very extended penis sheath, and that's how you tell. So if you see a bear at one point that is like quite, obviously, the penis is almost dragging on the ground. Sorry to be so blunt about it, but if you see that, that's usually a bear that's over 20 years old. Yeah, so this boy is very old. He knows how to put his bed there. And so the peeing around a rug tree, as we know, is very normal, and it's a way of putting their scent there and passing on to other bears, hey, I live here. Doesn't mean you're not allowed to be there. I know.
Tail.
Knows how to do it, right? He knows how to rub on that tree. And they'll use rocks and, you know, not just, but, anyways, but he's saying, yeah, you know, I live here. That's kind of his message. I live here. This is my area. And if you carry it across, then that's, you know, and then a little tiny black bear comes along and goes, well, I don't think I'll trust, you know, and he'll go well around there. You know, they make choices, like Barry said. They now have a choice. Do you want to take the chance that everything's gonna be fine or not? They're not that territorial with people and even other animals and bears, but they can be pushy with the males, especially during breeding season, pretty clear and really let younger bears know that, you know, move off. And I got this. So, okay, I had to throw in some people. So obviously, so a little bit of, you know, Pacific crabapple on the right here, which is the natural, everybody knows what Pacific crabapple looks like. And then on the left, you just, you have some huckleberries and seeds and all natural foods. What is it? Chuckleberries?
They call it Saskatoon.
Oh, Saskatoon, nice.
In our language, it's chuck. And the seeds there too.
Is there,
They would be like cherry seeds or choke cherry seeds.
okay, got it, yeah.
Choke cherry seeds are very bitter to humans, but.
Yeah, I know, I tasted it.
Yeah, something change, right?
Yeah, the big, get in there. Yeah.
What did this be like? They're the master of the rooted ones. Goes on with these to help get it. Plant himself, heal himself, he goes to fall. So that's why when you after it's. You're one of the very best. It was, Marvin. Especially if we're going, goes in the Alpine. It's probably one of that thing. If you're one of those, you have different medicine from it. Probably give a little bit. And there is the master of the trees, on the tree, trees there. Master. Go to bear ceremony, you're invited. Heard about. our team.
To get that information from you. It's just, thank you so much for sharing. That's just so interesting, so huge. Thank you for.
So one day after, when we get lucky enough to get a bear, what we say bear regalia, the fur, like I said, if one gets killed somewhere and conservation doesn't want it to just go to waste, they'll respectfully call our band and they have one contact person. And they'll say, we have a young couple. We do have bear dancers in our area. And when they have the bear dancers come up, some of you might see my sister, Laura Grizzly Paws. She's on Facebook quite a bit, and she does a bear dance. She gets called all over the world. And when they do bring out the bear dancers, and they dance by you, you just touch them. And that's totally sacred medicine for you. That will heal you from whatever ails you, like physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It's a real big honor and a blessing to have them come in your presence. Like when you guys were telling me the story about the lady where the 3 cups were, like she left right away, like she left the area, she was scared, but she had no idea how blessed she was by that bear. She probably still doesn't understand it, but the way we understand.
So rough trees look like this. I'm going to just move this ahead a little bit. And this is Rocky. Get near the end. Rocky is the big male. He's 11 this year. And yeah. Yvonne's magnet. Bob's magnet. And he's just a beautiful big boy. His mom still fished with him. Actually, they fish together, which is so cool. Where they usually are, but they recognize and they stay pretty close together. Those two. He's a bit of a mama's boy. Like with the bears, and I watched Texado bears swimming yesterday morning in a lake, and it was so beautiful. He's like, I'm hot. They just want to cool off a little bit, right? I mean, they know how to get comfortable like we do. There's a lot of relatable pieces of their lives that we can understand. Yeah, he's beautiful. That's down there. You saw. So here we came on him a little closer than I preferred, and he's like, hey, and it just wandered. And that's bears. You can expect good behavior, but I always say bring bear spray, because, what if something goes sideways? So it's a good thing to have, but again, they're nice animals and you can get along with. And that's it. So here's Mama. Give you this last little video. So, oh yeah.
They're just like the size of a puppy.
They are so tiny. Those 3 that we were trying to find.
Yeah.
They were
I remember
3 pounds.
crying to their mummy, just like our children do.
Yeah.
They are so similar to us. In fact, there's that story, isn't there, Clara, about the bear woman. She meets the man who's the bear, and he's turned from a human into a bear. And that story is such a beautiful story because it relates to how they're so like us.
They really are.
Yeah.
It's so true. And that, I think that is something that people have felt forever. It's just, there is a lot of similar traits and how they love their cubs and how they, one thing people don't always think that they're actually pretty social. Like I say, relationship is really important to bears with others, and they have enemies and they have friends, right? But they have enemies. They'll teach their cubs to stay away from that big old male down there. You stay around, don't go near that, that big boy. And mom will teach that person. They'll teach them to stay away from that person. They know how to individualize us as well. And if they know you and you know them, they never forget you. That, in fact, I've come across bears, I'm like, oh, I haven't seen you before, and he's like, okay, yeah, like 5 times, you know, and they'll never forget. But me, I'm like, oh, yeah, but you didn't have the blonde wig on. Their hair changes and stuff, and you can't go by that. You learn to go by personality, you know, even in grizzlies, they're easier than black bears, right? Because black bears are black. So, but, or cinnamon, but there's some very differences, just scars and stuff you can go by. But definitely, grizzlies should be easier, but sometimes they're not. I've eaten humble pie many times on the identity of bears, but it gets easier over time and it's fun. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming here. All the people on Zoom.
Sorry, I didn't look at you.
Thank you.
My heart was with you.
Thank you all of you for being here. We really appreciate you so very much, and keep up the good work. Keep learning. There's some great books, isn't there, Ellie?
There really is.
Maybe they could come and join you on one of your fabulous trips.
I'd love to just come up here and go for a walk and say, come on, you guys, let's go for a walk. And let's go see some sign, find some fun things, you know, so maybe I'll do that in the fall. That might be a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay, yeah, any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank
folks.
you.
Thank you. So.
Oh, Julie's got it. She's over there.
What's the name of the law?
Tweedsmuir Park Lot. Yeah. Yeah, we work in Tweedsmuir Park Lot. Anybody want to come up and go for a walk? Meet some of my friends out there. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. But yeah,
We have a mama that one of my parents sitting for.
Yeah.
But we have some really lovely families there.
Yeah.
So if you are interested,
yeah, 100%.
let us know and we can organise something. So
Yeah.
sometimes when you're out there, and also Barry and Clara,
Yeah.
I'm going to bring them here again so we can get together as a community and
Yeah, absolutely.
continue growing.
I would love that. I'd love to send more.
How do we find out?
Yeah,
Yeah, if you, what I think I'll do is I'll post a connection so that everybody can get to Ellie and get to us more easily than what I posted on Whistler Winter, so that you guys can email us as well if you want to.
yeah. Does anybody have any questions about Cadenwood or Tex Fair situation? Does anyone want to know a little bit more? Are we good on all that? Tex Fair is still ongoing. So I don't know. They're definitely, we're trying very hard to get him translocated. He's been relocated twice. He's on Tuxedo Island and it's very unsafe for him because people are not set up to live with bears. They've never had one there. They had a black bear and he was shot, and that was years ago. So, and then they had a couple of wolves, but it's predator-free island really, except for when they just happened to come across. And then Tex ends up coming in because he was pushed off. He's a young bear, pushed off during breeding season, swam across like, okay, fine, you boys, I'm gonna go this way. You know, so he ended off on Tuxedo and Tuxedo, and it's a little tricky for him because there's people that don't want him there. So we have that. There's also a kill order by our government to kill this bear because they said that he is a serious public safety risk. He's not. I'm here to tell you that he's not. He is a really nice bear. I've talked to many people that have spent time seeing him and asked him to leave, and he always left. And he's really done nothing that has been a concern, other than being a young male bear. You know, he's typically very, very nice to get along with. So all that to say, we need him translocated to another location, and the Mamkila people on the coast, I think that's how Mama Lakila, anyway, Chief John Powell has said that this bear's home can be our home where we're living, and has welcomed him into his territory. And that is beautiful. And my gratitude for him and his nation goes so far. And so with his permission, with an exact area that this bear is going, we have that, we have the funding to translocate him. We have no reason why he should be shot. We need that kill order taken off of him, because that's just simply unfair. So
How
that
do we
is,
help? How do we help?
please, thank you. So Tina has all those phone numbers, and also there is a website that, on Facebook called Text the Bear.
Yes.
So the Texado Bear. So if you can, write our government, tell them your concern that this bear needs to be helped and we want that bear to be translocated and he lives life. I mean, it's only fair. And he is a species at risk, that is grizzly bear. I believe in all the bears. But because he's a grizzly bear, we can say that, because there's fewer of them, right? So we have that, we have the fact that he's a brother and sibling, that's what, Chief Powell said to them. So this bear is welcome into our home, and it's a beautiful thing, and
It's Safe Tex, the Texado Island Grizzly Bear on Facebook. But if you want to send me a message, I'll send you as much as I can.
Okay, yeah,
Please do that.
Yeah, thank you.
Really try to help.
yeah, Yvonne is very involved in.
And it was wonderful that Jeremy came tonight.
Yeah, that was fantastic, and that, Yvonne, it's your correspondence that made it,
Yes.
Tina's correspondence. We're just.
Well, it takes a whole village, doesn't
It
it?
takes a
Everybody.
village. There's no way that, that any one of us could do, so it's inclusive of all of us here to protect these animals and better ethic out there, understanding of them, it's fear that can be a problem for them. And, so if we can learn that they're not actually an animal that deserves our fear, they deserve our respect, space, and, respect to be aware of them. But, they're very nice animals and they are able to coexist beautifully with humans. And they're good at it, actually. Am I right, Barry? They're good at it. And it's us that have to learn. And they're patient teachers, so we're the ones, right, Clara? Humans are the ones that have to learn how to do it, how to do it well. And because of people like Tina, that respect them, it's not there. Is going to guide and lead and we'll support her in her, in her effort to help people understand these animals better and to coexist in a comfortable way with them and to see them not killed. We do not want to see them killed anymore. It's unfair. Yeah.
What actually happened came around really all the
I'm sorry.
share something. What actually happened came with
Okay, so we have a timeline that I'm happy to share. Well, not happy, but willing to share. And I think it's important that the community knows, and Tina and Yvonne can fill this in anywhere. So when we spoke with the attending conservation officer, we asked him some questions. There was myself and Amanda and Tina. And one of the questions that I had for him was, we were out looking for the cubs at the time. This was after we were looking for the cubs, and we weren't fun. I said, when you shot the mom bear, I said, did you not notice prior to shooting her that she's a lactating female? I'm just curious, because I know I've seen many lactating females, and like they're all boobs and milk. I mean, they're just like, you can't miss it, right? So, and his words were, we didn't know that until we got closer.
It's terrible visibility and it was dark, that's what he said.
Dark and it was foggy. It was very dark and foggy, which was concerning as public safety.
Totally.
Right? So, but then I said, did you think of leaving the mom to, and then after she was shot? And so the cubs would come around, because that's just what happens. I know that from being around bears. They don't leave them on. They will come there and they will stay there. I had a grizzly bear that was shot. And those cubs stayed with that mom solid for 5 days before we eventually were able to pick them up. They don't leave them. They don't leave them any more than mom would ever leave them.
Because they were tiny, these cubs.
These ones in Caden were 3.5 pounds. So I thought, well, did you think of leaving them out? Oh, I did, he said. We left them on there for 2.5 hours. That wasn't long enough for trauma with the gunshot and everything. Those cubs were terrified, so they left. They didn't leave, they were up a tree. That's where they were. So they're not gonna leave where mom is. They just don't. And they're gonna go up the first tree they come across, because that's black bears. They find safety in trees. Then I asked, did you come back the next morning? Because now the cubs are, we have 3 cubs, and which they didn't know at the time, my understanding. And he said, no, we were really, really busy, and we didn't have the resources till later in the morning. And I'm thinking you need a drone, you need that, and you need to be there on the break, the light, right when the light hits, you need to be, you know, get these cubs, because it's really important to the community, to the public, and to the bears.
And Criticare were waiting for them, that's the critical point. They were actually waiting for the 3 cubs, weren't they?
100%. There was a call came into the raft line, and it was at 11 o'clock. I was sorry, it was at 11:38, raft line call. And there was video, 11:30.
Yes.
I guess that was the video.
That's-
And then the call came in to shortly, like around that time. And conservation did attend quickly, they got there quickly, but there was 2 cubs and one that was down in somewhere, they knew, that was a little ways away. That they could hear, so there's 3 cubs altogether, they absolutely knew that.
Yeah.
And so they had video, that's the video that went viral here. So then conservation came, and when he got there, the cubs stood aloof, just sort of not very far, right? Their legs are long. Conservation did not pick them up. Yeah,
They didn't.
they did, that's 2 times. So the first time was they didn't leave them with mom. So mom would have brought them there, we could scrub them on, it's like they're this big. Then the second time they didn't pick them up. And then there was another call later in the afternoon, and they attended. The raft line was called, and there was video footage as well at that time. And my understanding is that they attended, and again, I don't know anything more than that. All we know is we never heard, seen, or anything of those cubs there. And then the conservation did have a trap set, but the trap was for like a almost full-size bear. Cubs would never have triggered it at 3.5 pounds. And they had kind of, I don't know what kind of food was in there. There was
Not the right food.
not the right food, so that they're nursing cubs, so they're going to be attracted to more that type of food, not like a salmon or something. So, so that was over. And so, but we didn't hear anything after that. Then the traps, what happened with the
Yeah,
traps?
so then we said, right, we need a drone, so one of our community, we got them in to then do the drone search. Ellie had her dog, we had lots of boots on the ground, Joe was with us as well. And we never saw anyone, no one, not the bear working group, no one. There was only us, which was horribly surprising. And then also there was very many traumatized, like the builders that were working up there, they were traumatized. Like the one guy was he was like, I wish I'd picked them up. We're always made to feel that we're gonna get put in prison if we do. It was awful to hear their stories. And then I said, well, right, let's get some better traps, because this trap is awful, it's rusty, they're not gonna go in there. So Ellie had a communication with Criticare. Gail said, can you have the traps? Don't set them, but can we drop them off at your house? So they actually dropped them off at our home.
Yeah.
And then, only then, I had to call the rat line, took ages to get through. Then the conservation guy came, because we're not allowed to set them, even though we can, we're not allowed to. So they came and they took the traps and all the food and the blankets that should have been on top of them. But of course, by this time, this should have been done the second day.
Yeah.
By this time, it was too late. So then what was happening was, when they set those traps, other bears were coming, which put them at risk then. So it was horrible to see, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
and deeply traumatizing and shocking. And I think that is why, for us, we thought, right, we have to do something, because, you know, this is happening too often. And it's not like pointing the finger, but there were huge holes.
Yeah.
And I know that the council, you know, Arthur de Jean said we dropped the ball. You know, 2011, this should have been being sorted out all the way along. And my question is, why were none of those people boots on the ground who are getting paid? Why were none of them out there? And it was only Ellie driving up from North Vancouver, myself, Joan, Amanda, Julie, you know, local people, everybody wanted to help us. And that really traumatized us more because we knew the community was behind us and they were all terrified. Like people were saying, who do we call? What do we do? So this is why we wanted to do this, so that people like you guys could stand up now for this community, knowing what the reality really is. It isn't good.
Is that killing the mother?
That shouldn't have happened. And I'll tell you why, because Amanda was with us, so there was 3 of us in that group. When we asked him, he admitted that not only was it dark, but it was terrible visibility. So he wasn't even sure it was the right bear.
That's what I'm doing.
So I have to tell you, knowing that, you know, that is, and for me, shooting a gun in a residential area, what's to say, in the dark, in the fog, what's to say a child or a human comes out of their house and then they're shot? So when we were stood there listening to this story, it just dawned on me that this was way bigger than even I thought. And even Amanda, like you were horrified, weren't you?
I mean, the concern, he was using certain facts to justify his actions, but then on the flip side of that, they were also harming his argument.
Yes.
So his argument was, I had to protect, I had to shoot the bear because, she'd attacked this person, but then also, he couldn't see properly to actually, like Tina said, he didn't even know that it was the correct bear.
Well, he didn't say that, but
Okay, not-
no, he didn't say that he didn't know it was the correct bear, but he did say
He
it
wasn't.
was dark and
Yeah,
it was very dark and foggy, that was his words.
And therefore that was his reasoning, because he was concerned that the bear someone else could come up and not see the bear again, and so that's why he took the measures to.
Yeah.
And we
All of
tracked it, didn't we? What
Yeah.
we did was we tracked the distances to see in our mind from the moment it happened to where that mother bear would have run with her cubs. And then it made sense. And once you start tracking this and you start looking, you're like, this is just not making sense. None of it's making any sense. Even somebody who was a hunter, and that one guy was a hunter, he said, none of this is making any sense. Why did they not just scruff those bears and pick them up? And this is a man who was a hunter, and he was genuinely saying, none of this makes any sense to me. So I think when you get those different narratives from different people, then it's not just us. And there wasn't really any emotion, it was just deep trauma, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just
Quite terribly sad.
for the people that were involved. I mean, it was all gone
Oh,
sideways, yeah, it's
yeah.
gone. And I also, one of the things that I've mentioned it before was how it is that with Critic Care getting a phone call
Yes.
by conservation the next morning. 9 o'clock, from conservation saying, we have 3 cubs, we're thinking that we have 3 cubs that we're looking to bring into you. So can you take them? My question is, so I need to understand, I would like to ask the attending officer, at least just ask them, but how did you know that you had 3 cubs? Because we were told we didn't see any.
Yes.
So
He did
how
say
did you
that.
know that there were 3 cubs? Did you get a call with somebody at like 6 in the morning saying, I saw 3 cubs? Like, how did he know that there were 3 cubs? I don't know. Then an hour and a half later, at 10:30, he called, or Critic Care called and said, when can we expect these 3 cubs? And he said, we won't be bringing those cubs, we've lost them. And then we got the 10 or 11:38, which is where the video with me.
And them screaming, them
And
crying.
They came by, like between 11:38 and noon. And they were right there. So, but the thing is, why did they cancel this?
Yeah.
And how did they know about the 3 cubs? That just continues to
I
play
know.
in my mind. Will I ever know? I don't know, because this organization, does not have public accountability. So they lack it. They don't have transparency. They don't have an independent board that sees and has an oversight of what their responsibilities, jobs they do. It is not with the Conservation Service. Guess who the Conservation Service is accountable to? Anybody? One person, the Minister of Environment. That's it. So we need to change that. We need to see accountability to us.
I guess I still don't understand what happens, if a person was attacked.
Yeah. What happened, so say, you're wondering what happened with the original injury.
Right.
Don't have a lot of information on that.
No, we just have to be, we can't name people because we don't want to get them into trouble. But obviously I know all the medical people, but it was said that she had, like a swipe on her back. That was what they call wounds, that they let them dry, they don't stitch them because it's like a swipe. So that would have been the swat. And if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, that swat's like that final warning that she must have turned her back and got that swat. And it's very sad because nobody wants that.
Yeah.
And there was a dog involved. They said it was a brown dog that was, you know, a middle-sized dog, medium-sized dog. Again, because the person didn't want to come forward, obviously they're probably traumatized in their own way as well. But it would have been helpful if they had have come forward, because then we're just hearing hearsay from the medical centre. And all of us would like to know, we don't want to hold this person responsible, we don't want it to happen again. So I feel like what happened then was they then went after a bear. And because obviously the woman who this happened to couldn't really describe. I mean, can you imagine if you've got swipe, you're hardly going to go, oh, that was a black bear with a stripe on its nose, and you just wouldn't know. So it's just a horrible set of circumstances that we just don't want to happen again.
So many holes in the
So
timeline as
many
well, and
holes,
we just
yeah.
don't have the ability to fill it in.
No, so
So,
thank you for asking, because
yeah.
I lie in bed at night and I'm like, what the hell went wrong? Like, what happened? I think the worst thing is knowing that people wanted to pick up those cubs, and because of the way the conservation service is, and it needs changing. I think the public needs a bit more control now. I think they think we're all idiots, and we're not. I think now there needs to be a great, that's where I want the body cams. Because I think if we had body cams, even for their sake, you know, it's like the police, if they've got body cams, then people go, oh, they were doing their job, they were doing, there's nothing to hide. But I feel like this whole situation, we never really fully heard the truth, did we?
We
Or a
never,
bent story, it's more like a
we never
bent.
had a complete smooth story.
No.
Everything had bumps and holes in it, so, anyways, yeah, so, I mean, all of it says that we need, yeah, really appreciate it. What we need is an independent public board, like Darcy and Pete have, same thing, so they're accountable to the public, the conservation is not. So we need that, and we need, I believe, your mark on that. I think body cams are helpful to be able to apply accountability to public
I mean,
accountability.
they don't cure everything, but it's
Yeah.
definitely a start, isn't it?
That's,
It's a start, and also I think the community, I think we need, because after all, we're the taxpayers who pay for this. So I think if we have greater control, and we've got, like you were saying, Ellie, in a group, First Nations people, we've got community members that want to come and assist. We've got, you know, like somebody like yourself who's deeply knowledgeable. I think with all of that and the goodwill of the people, we could change this.
Yeah.
I really believe we can.
if we, like, Whistler is so close to that, Whistler is the place to do it.
It is.
And the people like yourselves are the people that will lead this. And you'll lead other communities through your example. And I really, I feel just beyond privileged be able to spend time here and to maybe input a little bit that I've learned. And I'm happy to continue to do that. I'm just so grateful that Tina is like here and kind of helping people and it's
In the
just-
winter,
it's
we
wonderful
will
and
take people out.
yeah,
Because that would be really good, Ellie. I think people would love
yeah,
that experience.
in the winter.
Well, not in the winter, but you know, before they
Oh,
come into
yeah.
I'm not even thinking of the winter.
Well, we'll
We'll
look
start
at it.
thinking about later, dear, when she's looking in the bushes. Yeah. There was
Well,
a-
we have to find tracks, so.
Well, we have to
We'll
find
be able to see tracks.
It was so interesting though, when we were up there, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were.
We met a
really
big
wild.
boy and he was
You've got funny
gorgeous, wasn't
video.
it?
Exactly. Caden, yeah.
Caden, that was Caden, Caden was showing off and he told me what he thought of the video and he probably did a very large poo and then added it. Well, she's had a bit of an itch and on he went, but I would love people to experience that.
It's pretty fun.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Clara,
But,
I think we can educate the people from Tex Island.
yeah, I'm happy to go out there in the fall.
thank you everyone so much for joining us. Ellie's amazing, isn't she? I hope you have a beautiful evening. Thank you. I can't see all your names, but I wanted to thank you. Stick with us and let's make change. We love you. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Hi, thank you for joining us.
Love that, Ellie. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
She is the true bear whisperer. You're correct. She truly is. Thank you. Who wrote that? Yeah, we will push for political change.
Thank you for your. Yeah.
Bye-bye, everyone. Actually, Julie, I don't know how to turn it off.
Right now.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Good night, everyone. We're signing off now. Take care.
Or a,
No, no.